Okay, I have 8 o'clock, top of the hour here in the United States. On behalf of everyone at Greif, welcome to our Discover Greif webinar series and our webinar on sustainable innovation. My name is Cheryl Cottle. I'm responsible for global marketing and communications at Greif, and I'm pleased to be your moderator for today's event. Joining me, I have presenters from around the world in various capabilities across the Greif organization. We'll be introducing you to Geoff Westphal, who is our newly appointed Director of Sustainable Technology, Jason Colgrove, who is our Director of Trisure Sales, Mark Butrin, who is our VP and GM of our Paper Mills Group, Gustavo Mello, our Market Intelligence Manager from from Latin America. He's also responsible for innovation leading in the LATAM region. Luca Battoni, who's a Global Product Manager. And then a photo you don't see is Tom Palmer. He's also a Global Product Manager who's responsible for our PCR products. He'll be joining us in case there's any questions today. We're really pleased to have we're representing the entire Greif organization. So in this panelist and in this discussion, we're going to take a look at this from a holistic Greif approach. We're going to be showing you innovations from both of our primary divisions, our paper packaging and servicing division and our global industrial packaging division. So you'll be able to see how sustainability and how a circular economy flows through our organization and how we are responsible to protect our future. And because of that, we have to look at innovation from a sustainable lens and through a sustainable lens. And so that's why you're going to be able to be introduced to our new thought process for sustainable innovation at Greif, as well as we're introducing you to some new sustainable products that we have in our portfolio today. Some housekeeping items: we are recording the webinar to share with those who are unable to attend. There is a chat button in the bottom middle of your screen, so we welcome your questions throughout the presentation, and we'll entertain those at the end of the webinar. There'll be an opportunity for Q&A. And then if you're interested in the PowerPoint presentation, your account managers will have that to share with you by tomorrow. Our agenda for today, we'll go through a quick introduction. We've got quite a few sustainable innovations that we want to cover across the portfolio, from PCR caps and G-cubes, our jerry can innovation, and then some paper packaging innovations. And then we'll close with a Q&A, as we mentioned. So I'm going to let us get started. I'm going to hand it over to Geoff Westphal and have him introduce himself and talk you through the introduction of our webinar today. Geoff?
All right, thanks, Cheryl. Hey, everybody, my name is Geoff Westphal. I've been with Greif for about 10 years. Most of the time spent in the EHS group, and then also led various sustainability initiatives at Greif, including our zero waste to landfill initiatives and climate team initiatives. So I'm excited to be here. Been in the role for a few weeks now, and starting to learn all kinds of different things, all kinds of great stuff that Greif's been doing over the years. A little bit of background on me: I'm actually a geologist. I was this close to becoming a paleontologist. Got really into that back in the day. So I have a little bit different view when it comes to sustainability. So when I think about it from in the lens of a geologist, and how someday everything that we're doing right now will be captured in the geologic record. Like how we can go back in time and see the KT boundary when the comet hit the Earth and killed the dinosaurs. We can see those types of things. So I think about, okay, million years from now, 5-10 million years from now, what's the geologic record going to tell us about this time? And there's a lot of plastic, there's a lot of carbon, there's greenhouse gases, all that's locked up. And I think about what people of the future will think we were doing at this time, and it'll probably be confusing, because I don't think we're doing too well in some areas. And so, one area in particular, when we talk about, geology, is climate change. That's something we studied, in school, going through those different types of things. And in particular, something that came to my attention a few weeks ago when I was reading a book is that there are now Pizzly bears out there in the world. And I'm guessing not too many people have heard of these. I had never heard of them. And as somebody that was almost a paleontologist and very into animals and things like that, I was surprised. So what a Pizzly bear is a combination of a polar bear and a grizzly bear. We have polar bears up north in the Arctic that, due to scarcity of food, the warming, they're moving south trying to find food. And then they're running into grizzly bears. Grizzly bears, they you know, tough to supplant in terms of the food chain. And grizzly bears just flat out are beating them for food. So what's happening is the polar bears are actually mating with the grizzly bears. And so you have pizzly bears or growler bears, kind of can go either way. I think we'll figure out the term here in the next few years. But to me, this was kind of the first real tangible, you know, well, not first real tangible, but one of those really tangible signals of climate change. You know, when we're warned all the time about things like, hey, the sea level is going to rise, you know, an inch by this time, I don't think that we can really comprehend what that means. As somebody that's a geologist and studied the history of the earth, I can tell you that's hard to visualize. Or when somebody tells you this frog used to be dark green and it's light green, and that's a huge signal, we can't tell. But this, something that's common for all of us on this call, in this webinar, is polar bears have been one species and grizzly bears have been another. And then over the past, you know, 10 years, you know, now they've come together and now we have pizzly bears, which to me was just so shocking and so alarming. So the need for sustainable innovation, when we look at this, when we think about, okay, what's actually happening to the planet, you know, and then seeing these types of signal changes, big ones like this, that like, wow, I can't believe there's a new species of bear out there that we're going to get to see kind of come into existence. It shows the need for sustainable innovation. It shows how we need to focus on a circular economy, focus on decarbonization, and we're going to do that through innovation. So, you know, excited, you know, as you're learning about these products today, thinking about it, just think about how it fits into the whole grand scheme of the world and what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish. So that's all I have. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Luca here.
Thank you, Geoff, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. My name is Luca Bettoni. I'm the Global IBC Product Manager. I'm dealing with IBC since the last 20-something years. And yeah, today I would like really to update you on one of the latest development, which is probably the most sustainable development that we had in IBCs recently, among others, because there are really many projects we are working on, but we have selected today to highlight on our G-Cube EcoBalance line. So let me start with the fact that the external components of the IBC, such as the plastic pallet and the one that you see in the pictures now, or the corner protectors, the feet of the hybrid pallet, were produced with recycled polyethylene since the last 20 years. But G-Cube EcoBalance is really the line of product where the PCR, so the recycled polyethylene, and we'll talk about it later, is used in the bottle. And how it is used is really using our 3 layers technology in order to keep the innermost layer in contact with the feed product 100% virgin polyethylene, and this is representing more or less 40% of the thickness. And the external layers, which are the intermediate, and the externals, which are 60% of the thickness, are represented by recycled polyethylene plus the internal flashes, so the regrind coming from our production. So at the end, as you can see highlighted on the left, 40% of the weight of the bottle can be represented by recycled polyethylene coming from our IBC collection. The big highlight now is that we have also achieved with it the UN approval, because it was not something very easy to obtain. We have worked hard not only to develop a product, but also to develop a product which is in line with the UN expectations, and this is now achieved in different countries among our organization. Moving to the next slide, I would like really to give an highlight about how we are doing it, and so from where the PCR is coming. And when we are speaking about PCR, which is post-consumer resins, we are speaking about really packaging which is being used, emptied, and collected through our network. And then the not washable containers, because you know that we are also washing and selling washed IBCs and washed containers. What is not washable is grinded in flakes. From flakes, we are washing in flakes and then drying, and then we go to an extrusion in order then to transform again the polyethylene in a polyethylene suitable for a blow molding process again. And this is the one that is used in our G-Cube EcoBalance then for producing a new bottle that can be either used in a used cage or in a new cage. So this is really what we are doing in the process. It is available in different solutions. So the next slide is showing really the fact that we are producing it with a wooden pallet or hybrid pallet and plastic pallet. What is changing is really the percentage and the overall percentage of PCR in the total plastic weight of the IBC, because if the wooden pallet IBC is 40% of the total plastic, which is thus represented by the bottle, in the hybrid pallet, considering also that the feet of the hybrid pallet is made entirely with PCR, we are up to 46% of the total plastic weight. And then we can achieve even 70% of the total plastic weight when we are speaking about our plastic pallet. And with the timber now situation, I can tell you that there is a growth also in the consumption of the plastic pallet, either the fact that we can offer really a truly sustainable product, and also because we can really mitigate compared to those type of price increases which are arriving also on the wooden pallet. So this is really a brief introduction. There are many things that we can say about it, but I would like now to hand over to Jason that will drive you through the latest innovation in the closures. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luca, very much. My name is Jason Colgrove. I'm the Director of Sales for GIP in the Midwest and Tri-Shirt businesses. I've been with Greif for around 12 years with prior roles in financial leadership, product management, and sales leadership. We are very excited to, with the recent launch of our EcoBalance, SambaCap, and Push Lock. These are 100% closed loop PCR overcaps. We've been in this development for about the past year, a little longer, trying to secure the right source of PCR. And we have now found, partnered with the right companies and have a stable, secure amount of PCR that we can utilize through this process. As I mentioned, it is a closed loop industrial packaging PCR. The plastic we're utilizing for these caps have lived their former life as industrial pails and jerry cans. So the EcoBalance caps that we've launched recently are our SambaCap and our Push Lock cap. The SambaCap is utilized, you see the SambaCap there on the left at the top. The SambaCap, the S, is used on steel drums, and Push Lock cap, the P, is on plastic drums. Our EcoBalance caps reduce carbon emissions by up to 45% over the standard virgin plastic caps that are in the market. Our excitement for this launch is driven by the high demand of our customers for sustainable solutions. We are being pulled heavily into this market right now. If you wanted more information on the product in order to obtain samples, obtain more literature, you can contact any of the existing Greif GIP sales individuals or the Tri-Shirt team. We have recently launched and trained all of them on this product, and they're ready to assist. As a reminder, the SambaCap and Push Lock, we chose these caps to go live with first as overcaps because they require no tooling for installation on your end. So the caps can be sourced, you simply press the cap onto your drum and you're on your way. The other question that comes up a lot when we've been talking about our PCR caps is, can I use them in the food market, or is the use of PCR strictly forbidden? Because these are overcaps and they don't actually come into contact with the material that you're packaging in the drum, there is no concern or no need for any food contact declaration. Our existing caps that we sell out of virgin material don't require the declaration. We don't put the declaration out there, so there are no concerns. You can go live in the food and pharma markets with these PCR caps without any concern. One special note to make is, because of the solution being a sustainable 100% PCR cap, we're not adding any virgin colorant so that we can get that sustainability of 100% PCR. The color will vary slightly depending on the batch of pails and jerry cans that we're recycling and reusing. So it's going to range from black to charcoal in that particular color range. We are able to match the existing virgin minimum order quantities. So if you're buying just a plain cap, You can buy a box quantity. If you do want a printed design, we have a 5,000 unit minimum order quantity. And because of the color of the caps themselves, your logo would need to be printed in white on that cap. And lastly, we're launching this production. We are producing and selling now out of our Carroll Stream, Illinois location in North America. So for North American companies, we have a lead time of 4 weeks. And then we do have existing supply chain routes. So we're launching this around the globe. We have containers every week going to our other facilities in Europe, Latin America, and Asia. So we just need to factor in for your specific ramp up, you would need to consider that transit time. We can of course create that supply chain and route and make sure we're carrying inventory between our businesses to shorten the lead time after the initial ramp up. And with that, I'll hand it to Gustavo Mello.
Thank you, Jason. So my name is Gustavo Mello. I have been working for Greif for 15 years, now more than 15 years, I would say. And I'm the Regional Market Intelligence Manager for Latin America and responsible for innovation leadership in the region as well. And it's an honor for me to be here introducing to you guys our new sustainable COEX development called ECOEX. ECOEX, we do believe that we put that name in that development because it means the ecological COEX. Let's understand in the next slide, what does it mean in terms of comparing before and after scenarios. So before on the left, you see the common COEX, right? With the strands in the upper part of the box where we put it there, the co-extruded multi-layer barrier technology that could be presented into that packaging with nylon or EVOH barriers that has a low permeation index, which is really good because we are talking about a physical barrier in this type of jerry can or bottle. And in the lower part of this box, we see the recyclability part, whereas we see the opportunity to work on the COEX development in order to develop the ECOEX. The recyclability, you see the red points there in terms of low performance regrind and also the low value added recycled finished good coming out from this low performance regrind. According to that scenario with the low performance regrind and the low value added recycled finished good, that means pipes and chairs or something that is coming out from this recyclability process. It put to this recyclability value chain a higher collection cost, a higher system to collect the cost to collect and to manage this type of regrind. And with the after scenario, with the ECOEX, we keep the same positive aspects of the COEX. Same co-extrusion multi-layer barrier technology with the high performing performance nylon and EVOH barriers, with keeping the low permeation index, which is really important for our customers, right? And in terms of recyclability, where we work on, we have there a high performance regrind, because now with this regrind, we are able to generate UN certified packaging again, closing the loop, starting with ECOEX packaging and then recycling the ECOEX and generating again a UN certified packaging. So that's why we put it there, a high value added recycled finished good that's coming out from this recyclability process. In the next slide, I will demonstrate to you a little bit about the process of this co-extrusion process. Take a look on the left side of the slide. You see the co-extrusion there when we are generating in yellow the ECOEX jerrycan. For instance, in this particular example is a 20-liter ECOEX jerrycan, right? In the bottom of the image, you see the different layers that I talked about that we have in contact next to the customer fillet product, the nylon in that example, right? Followed by an adhesive, and then outside we have the high density polyethylene. Our development, our sustainable solution brings a new formulation for this ECOEX in the layers outside of the packaging, which is really fantastic for our customers because we are not changing anything that is in contact with the fillet product. So our customers, it's just a matter of deciding moving to ECOEX, and it will not be any issue for them as well in terms of performance of the packaging with their products as well. And following the process, we then see the ECOEX regrind in the middle of the slide, demonstrating that now, based on this new formulation that I've mentioned and the improved process that we put it together in this ECOEX blow molding process, we have a better ECOEX regrind. Better in terms of what? Better in terms of recyclability properties versus COEX. So that's why now, instead of converting the COEX into pipes and low-value products, we are converting, as I'm showing there, into a monolayer packaging, for instance, jerry can or bottles, UN certified as well. And we validated that recyclability through some independent laboratories assessments and tests, and we have structured reports to demonstrate that to our customers as well. Following that explanation, I wanted to summarize the benefits for the circular economy regarding the ECOEX. First thing, I would say that's the optimal mechanical and barrier properties of this packaging. And we are putting this together with a higher recyclability property as well. So with these advances on the COEX that converted into an ECOEX, an ecological COEX, we have now saving about 45% of CO2 emission equivalent. And you may say, but why, Gustavo? Because we are putting there with the ECOEX an extended material life cycle compared to our current COEX in the market. So this is giving us the possibility to, with this extended material life cycle, to have more packaging going back to the cycle, and then we can have this type of saving in CO2 emission as well. It's important to remember that the benefit is not only to the recyclability value chain, it's also to the communities that now are dealing with a better regrind that can be converted into a better and high value added product finished good. And now I hand over to my friend Mark.
Thank you, Gustavo. I appreciate it. So first off, let me introduce myself. Mark Buttrin. I'm with the Mill Group, which is part of PPS. I've been with Greif since the acquisition of Caraustar in 2019. In total, I've been in the industry for 27 years. First, before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about our PPS business, because we are a sustainable circular business in its model as it stands today. We have a recycling and recovery business where we recover 4 million tons a year of recycled paper and boxes, which then goes to our mill group, of which we use around 2 million tons of recovered fiber. We then produce containerboard and paperboard grades, which we then sell to our external customer base or internal customers, because we have a sheet feeder division called Core Choice, and we also have a tube and core division that we refer to as IPG. So if you go to the next slide, I'll go through a couple of the projects that we have been working on concerning innovation and sustainability. And the tagline there, our focus is really to provide more sustainable solutions for our customers. And our focus area within providing these more sustainable solutions has really been targeted in two areas. Where can we take virgin products today and replace them with recycled products? And where can we take products that have poly layers built into our products from a performance standpoint and replace that poly layer with an aqueous coating to allow the product to be recyclable and repulpable and reused again. And so the first product I have shown here is our EnviroBev product. It is a paperboard grade that goes into beverage carriers. Traditionally, this space has been in virgin products, predominantly because of the performance of the products with recycled just wouldn't hold up, specifically coming in and out of coolers that would be in a wet environment. But we've redesigned the product in such a way that we were able to increase the relative performance of a 100% recycled product to meet, and in some cases exceed, the virgin products that are out there in the market. The next project that I'd like to tell you about a little bit, if you go to the next slide, includes the next step in our value chain and our tube and core division. And it involves our easy pour product, and it involves removal of a poly layer in our product lines. So what you see in the picture there is a concrete forming tube. So construction companies will set these tubes in such a way and then pour concrete to pour foundations or other structural members for buildings. And traditionally, the inside of that tube had a polyethylene layer in it. So when it was done and you could crack the tube and remove it after the pouring and setting so the concrete wouldn't stick to the tube and require additional manual labor to remove any fibers that were stuck to the concrete. Well, we've been able to take that polyethylene layer out of the general product construction, replace it with a product that has an aqueous coating and a release properties on it, and have actually same or better performance as polyethylene. And then the remaining tube then can actually be recycled, which saves on the disposal cost for the construction companies. And then the third product that we've recently brought to market with one of our converters is the combination of really both of those technologies. And this is a product where we make the board and we send it off and it gets converted by another company, Dixie, which is a division of Georgia Pacific. And they've taken virgin products for paper plates, paper cups and bowls, and removed the polyethylene layer. And then we've applied an aqueous coating, and you have a product that is 100% recycled paperboard, and it has removed the polyethylene coating with an aqueous coating. And this product into itself, if it's clean and dry, can be recycled and repulped, where traditional cups and plates in many areas cannot be. The other piece about this that is unique is it's 100% microwave safe, and the overall supply chain has been simplified because it's all the pieces outside of the forming of the plates and the cups is done internal to the Greif network. So with that, I'd like to turn this back over to Geoff.
All right, thanks, Mark. Yeah, so I know I learned a lot going through that, listening to that, guys. I appreciate that, and I hope everybody else has on this call too. So, I want to end this, just talking about sustainable innovation, historical sustainable innovation that people may not really think about. And so the story I want to talk about real quick is just one about Thomas Edison. So Thomas Edison, he's holding up what everybody views as his greatest invention, right? He's the guy that invented the light bulb. That's actually not entirely true. He's the one that brought it to market. He's the one that got it commercially viable. So there were probably about 20 different inventors before Thomas Edison came along and figured out a way to kind of commercialize the light bulb and get it into places. And the way that he did that, and it was to really found a whole bunch of different companies. So you can see on this slide here, what do I have there? About 12 different companies. So at the time when he was living, this was in the 1800s there, gas was used for everything, lighting, heating, absolutely everything. And what they were doing was like whale oil, kerosene, things like that, things that were not seen as sustainable, that were actually, big time polluters and things like that. So his idea was to bring this light bulb to market, bring electricity to market using clean coal, because it was much, much cleaner than what we had at that time. And so the way you do that, the way that Thomas Edison went about doing that, and I see this, kind of as his greatest invention, is he founded all these different companies. Because if you're going to knock out an infrastructure that's there based around gas, kerosene, whale oil, stuff like that, you have to put together people that are going to actually, manufacture wires, put together, build the actual sockets, construction crews put things together, people running power stations, factories building the light bulbs and things like that. And so it's funny, we never really think about electricity when it came about. We think about all the great things that it did, for the world, all the different things that we're able to do, and it, how helpful it is in that regard, but not that it's this huge sustainable innovation story. And also one, I think his quote is, genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. And so I think that you can see that through this. This perspiration is him founding 12 companies in the span of 10 years to get electricity to us, with sustainability as a primary emphasis behind that. And so how this kind of ties back to everything that we've been talking about, kind of the so what behind all of this, is that, you know, we want to build those types of things. We want to look at those innovations. You know, we talked about at the beginning of this, the Paisley Bear, the changes that we see. You know, we want to build those partnerships. So we want customers, you know, you to reach out to us to reach out to you, us to talk about what are the solutions, what are the things that, you know, what are the things that we need to do to kind of to protect the environment. And I'll just say, just saw a comment in here, and I'll just make a mention of it right now. Seeing that, you know, Edison's had his first electric car, his wife loved it, and was seen driving around DC. I think that's pretty cool. And actually, that is funny when you look back at the history of cars. The first car was electric when you go back and look at that stuff. So anyway, but very cool. So, you know, this is kind of our case right now to reach out to us, or again, we'll reach out to you, and we want to have these conversations and work together, because there's a lot of things that have to happen to be sustainable. I think it's going to be a pretty fun ride over the next 10 to 20 years to see all the different technologies and solutions that come out of all this. And then I'll turn it back over to our fantastic host, Cheryl.
Thanks, Geoff, for that. I'm going to stop sharing our screen so that everyone can see the panelists. We'll go through some questions and answers. There's quite a few here popping in the chat, and feel free to populate more as we're going through this Q&A session. So the first thing I'd like to ask Jason, who should someone contact at Greif or at Trisher in order to order the EcoBalance SambaCaps or push lock caps?
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, over the past 6 to 12 months, we've gone through a slight tweak in our commercial representation. And so the Trisher sales force and the GIP sales force, we've been asked by the market for companies that had been approached by both to have one single point of contact. So you do not have to find a Trisher representative to talk about EcoBalance caps. We've trained, we've educated the GIP salesperson. So anybody you're buying a drum from at Greif can help you with the EcoBalance caps. Our Trisher team can also help you, but you don't need to search them out specifically.
Thanks, Jason, for that clarification. I also see a question here about our flexible packaging solutions company, and I just wanted to clarify something with that. On April 1st, we divested the flexible bag division. So they have started their own company called FPS, and we're happy to put you in contact with them. We still have connections with them as we're going through this divestiture, but the big bag company is now separate from Greif, and I'm happy to entertain any of those questions you have on that offline at a later date. So let's move on to some PCR questions. One of the ones coming in, maybe Tom, since you joined us as our PCR resident expert, is regarding the availability of PCR and the quality that we have. What's the sourcing situation look like for us?
Hi everybody. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you everybody for the presentation. Very interesting. On this specific PCR question, I'm going to give, as we say in France, a normal answer. If I look at the picture today, it is not an issue. There is PCR. So we could, if you ask me today, how many IBCs, for instance, we could make, I would say we can make more than half of what we make today in PCR. The main issue is that the market is evolving, the customer demand is evolving, and we see a great increase in consumption. So everything is really linked to the amount of, in the sources of used packaging we can get. So we will be able to supply our customers' needs, so your needs, as soon as we are able together to work on the collection of the used packaging. And that's really, really the secret behind the PCR topic.
Absolutely, just got to keep that circular economy moving. Let's see, Luca, where are the G-Cube EcoBalance PCRs available in the world?
Okay, thanks for the question. Today we are regularly producing it in Germany, Italy, Russia, We are starting now in Spain. We have started also in UK. We are now working to implement it in Sweden. And then we are also now testing the first production in North America as well. So this almost covered the EMEA part. We are working now for North America, and then China will follow. But so EMEA, I would say, is a regular production already.
And if you want to keep elaborating there on that a little bit, the UN approval level, can you expand?
UN, yeah. Now, because obtaining the UN certification for PCR is not really easy at all, because when you have a virgin polyethylene, this is the starting point for obtaining a UN approval, because you are starting from kind of raw material spec, and then on top of this, you are building your specification. How can we be sure that the PCR is always in line with a kind of specification? This is thanks to the sorting, and then we have really worked together with the authorities to find out a way to be sure that the sorting is allowing us to declare that the type of raw material used is always at the same quality level. Based on this, we have then obtained the UN approval, and then the UN approval now is covering Italy and Germany, so this is already covered. The level is Y1.6, and for water-based product. This is something that is the maximum achievable today, because we have worked really with the authorities to obtain this level, and this is really the maximum that we could have achieved due to the regulation. So we are working together with them also to enlarge to other liquids, but today Y1.6 that water is what we can obtain, and we have obtained. Thank you, Sharon.
I'm going to stay with the G-Cube just for a second. I'm going to bounce around here a bit. Luca, there's a question about the percentages. So are the highest PCR weight percentages limited to smaller sizes? Do the higher weight percentages have lower strength? So I think maybe if you could just clarify with the one slide we showed with the PCR percentages and what that represents would be really good.
Yeah. So the percentage that we have shared are representing the total quantity of recycled polyethylene in the total weight of the plastic in those IBC. So the cage part remains out of the calculation because it's the steel part of the hybrid pallet, for example, is out. But for example, the difference between 40% of PCR for a wooden pallet and 70% of PCR in a plastic pallet is because the plastic in a wooden pallet IBC is just on the bottom, and within those bottles there is 40% of PCR. While in a plastic pallet IBC, we need to count also 100% of PCR in the plastic of the pallet. And then in this case, with the same recipe of the bottle where we have 40% of PCR, we can achieve 71% of the total weight of plastics. The strengths are not influenced by the PCR among those, because the bottle remains all the time the same recipe. So the three layers, the inner layers is virgin, and the two external layers are represented by PCR and the regrind coming from our flash sheets. And the regrind is a mix of virgin and PCR as well. So that's basically the same. It's just changing the external components such as the plastic feet and the plastic pump.
Great, thank you. Before we jump into the ECOEX questions, Mark, let's look at the paper products. Do they carry any forestry certifications that you can share with us?
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. So if you look at all of the paper products that we produce today, we have the ability to certify to SFI, FSC, and our recycled products also carry the RPA 100 ability to label. Obviously, there's the supply chain piece, and everybody in the supply chain has to receive the certification as well to get the final products certified. But all the products coming through the mill group have the ability to carry those certifications. Thanks
for that. And then let's go, Gustavo. Let's start with where is EcoEX available for our customers on the call today? And you're still on mute, Gustavo.
Thanks a lot, Cheryl, for that excellent question. Yeah. First of all, we have developed the ECOEX in Latin America, mainly in Brazil, right? And we have already shared across the globe inside Greif the technology to be, spread it out within Greif. So we are able to, wherever we have the ECOEX packaging offer, we can offer the ECOEX. And I encourage customers, if they are willing to have the ECOEX in their country or their region, they could be able to, to talk to a Greif representative in order to draw a kind of business case in order for us to see the possibility to, offer the ECOEX wherever they want.
Did you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, on globally, how we're sharing our technologies and innovation?
Thank you, Cheryl. Yes. So as Gustavo said, we developed the technology in Brazil, so which is available in Brazil, and we're happy to engage with our customers on this topic. I think I've seen a question on the chat there. So if you have questions about Brazil, please reach out to the team, and we can have a discussion on this. This is a product that we can make. Now, regarding the other countries, as Gustavo mentioned, we are not present in all the countries, but we are expanding. We're expanding our network. So I think there was a specific question in the UK. Please, you can reach out to the UK team or to myself, and we can review with our network how we can accommodate, if possible, the technology if it's required. We also have other countries where we have ECOEX technology, so we're happy to engage and have the discussion.
Perfect. Gustavo, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on why ECOEX brings reduction in the CO2 level. Maybe you can expand on that a bit for us.
I saw in the chat that question, so it's really great. So because of the exchanged material life cycle that we have for the ECOEX, I mean, it can be recycled into a UN certified packaging again. It's generating that almost 45% CO2 emission reduction, because the ECOEX has what we know now cycled, because it's converted into a low value added finished good as pipelines or chairs, and that's it. So because of these multiple possibilities to generate jerry cans again and again, it has that possibility.
And then one last one for you, Gustavo.
Sorry,
go ahead.
If I may, on Gustavo's comment, I think it's really the holistic approach of packaging. We know ECOEX can be difficult to recycle. As Gustavo said, it is downgrading the quality of the resin. So we're going to go for more, I would say, lower technical value products. And there we really go into the same product. So we used packaging to make new packaging again. That's really the real true circular economy approach.
So Gustavo, with the ECOEX, recyclers, what kind of benefit will the recyclers see with the ECOEX solution?
Great, thanks, Cheryl. So the recyclers will have access to that high performing regrind, right? So and this is their raw material. So they are using, to get that premium, I would say, that premium regrind that can be converted into that high value added product. And for sure, this will give the possibility to reduce a little bit of the cost involved in terms of this system that is affecting part of the sectors that are, able to finance this system, and we could have that maybe that reduction compared to ECOEX, right? Because the ECOEX brings that value to recyclability value chain.
Thanks, Gustavo. Jason, back to you on the EcoBalance caps. Is there a tamper evidence feature built into the design?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, there absolutely is. If you, I'm going to try and show a cap here. I don't know if it'll show, but you can see there's a pull tab feature on it. This is what the cap looks like when it gets pressed on. This is what the cap would look like when it gets removed by the user. So it does destroy the cap as you remove it, and thereby providing tamper evidence.
There's a couple of questions about costing. Obviously, we'll take those offline because sustainable solutions, you know, a lot of times there's a perception that they cost less, but in reality, there's a lot of work to be done in order to be as sustainable or create that circular economy. So we'll take the costing questions offline. There's also a question about regarding offering incentives or engineering assistance. I don't know, Geoff, maybe you can talk a little bit about engineering assistance, because I think this is at the crux of why we're having this call, right? We want to partner with you to help you reach your sustainability goals. And that's why we have Geoff in this role now and this team here available for everyone to reach out to. So Geoff, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, with that one, I mean, you know, that's something I would say, let's talk about it. You know, I think that's probably the best way to look at it. I think it's a really good idea, a really great question. And it's something that, you know, we can reach out after this and have more discussions about it. But, you know, that's what we're talking about with those partnerships, figuring out, okay, when we're developing solutions, how are we developing those partnerships? What are the incentives? You know, how can you incentivize these things? How can we work together? And there's going to be all kinds of different strategies associated with that. And so I think it's a great question, and one we're definitely going to be following up on. And anybody else that has any interesting, you know, questions, ideas, things kind of along those lines, again, kind of the call from before is let's talk about that.
I'm going to jump. We have one last question, Gustavo. ECOEX container, can it be easily separated from regular COEX versions in the collection and sorting process?
That's an excellent question, because right now what we have in terms of COEX, the idea is to what we are doing down here in Brazil, right? So we are doing a sector approach that conveys and brings to the agrochemical customers the possibility to have all blow molding sector moving from COEX to ECOEX. This is really powerful. So Greif was leading that initiative with the sector, and we were trying to provide that approach. So it's not a type of issue, right? That we are vain, but we will have in the kind of in the level or a kind of mark that demonstrate that this is a ECOEX.
Perfect. Right. I think that's the majority of them. I am going to jump off here. I'm going to launch a quick polling question for everyone. We like to close our webinars with asking if you would like a Greif representative or a Trisha representative to reach out to you and contact you after this webinar is over. We will make sure to follow up and have a representative do so. I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn or your social media so that you can keep up to date on all of our webinar series. We'll be hosting a webinar next month in June regarding an update to the raw material and supply chain situation that we're seeing around the world. So look for that invitation coming out in early June, and we welcome everyone back for that event. And at that point, I just want to say thank you to our panelists and to everyone who's attended. Have a wonderful day and stay safe wherever you are in the world. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.